Tech News Weekly is sponsored by Audible.com, the internet's leading provider of audiobooks, with more than 100,000 downloadable titles across all types of literature. And by Stitcher Radio. Listen on the go via the Stitcher mobile app. For more information, go to Stitcher.com/GFQ.
Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tech News Weekly, the first Tech News Weekly of the new year. John, I believe we were off for like a month.
Practically, yeah.
We were off.
It's been a long freaking time.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever taken off this long from doing shows, but we're back. I had a nice little break. I got my my head together. I'm dieting. I'm trying to get healthy. All this stuff for the new year, and
You're starving.
I'm starving myself, actually. Yeah, but a lot's going on, and this is the week to come back because it is CES week. CES kicked off the beginning of the week, and I have to tell you, a lot of our show is going to be kind of focused around this. This is the first year since, I guess I've been doing this since 2008, 2009, that I am not really interested in anything that has been announced at CES this year.
Yeah, I'm with you on that completely.
I mean, I thought it was me, maybe because I was in the slump. I was off from doing the shows. I wasn't really following the news that much. But everybody that I spoke to, they're saying, you know what? I'm not that blown away by anything this year. 2 years ago, we had the tablet craze where everything was about tablets. And I think because we hadn't seen as many tablets as we have seen now in the market, we were kind of interested in that. But this year, we were promised all this Google TV stuff, which I really have not seen much from Google TV at CES. A couple announcements.
There was some Google TV stuff.
Nothing that stood out. Nothing major, in my opinion. We've seen the 4K TV craze kick off. 3D TVs are gone.
Let me ask you a question. How do you stand out when there are probably 3,000 products being announced?
See, that's a big problem. How do you do that? And if you're a company, you know, maybe CES is not where you should do these announcements. We've seen Microsoft pull away from this. We've seen Apple pull away from Macworld over the last couple of years. More and more companies are holding off for their big major announcements for their own little events. And I think they're getting a lot more press because of that. So
more bang for their buck.
Much more bang for their buck, because think about it. There's thousands of these products coming out, like you said. How do you stand out? What do you have to do to stand out? And, you know, you could have, first of all, nothing is really standing out. So regardless of what's announced.
No, the only thing standing out are the really crappy products.
I mean, but here's the thing. Is that happening because we are kind of, companies are shifting on the way that they do these unveiling and these announcements to, you know, their own events? Or is it just a bad year?
I'm thinking, you know, I think just by the fact that CES has been, to me, it's become a media event. It's nothing that the consumer would really be interested in. And while people say CES has been like one of those conferences for emerging technologies and brand new stuff, but the reality is that, quite frankly, a lot of stuff that you do see at CES is either on the ridiculously expensive end or the ridiculously expensive end, and the fact that there's so many challenges in bringing the product to market that it just never happens.
Or the things that we actually want to see will never get released. Yeah. I mean, that also comes into play. How many products have we spoken about on our... And this is the first time we haven't done a CES wrap-up show. You know, we used to do one every day.
It's so hard.
We used to do 3 days of CES coverage.
But, I mean, literally, what... I'm trying. The fact is that there's just so many freaking announcements that it's just like, it's very overwhelming to somebody that's trying to cover it. Unless you're in the Engadget, The Verge, CNET, something like that, you need to have a team of at least 20 people out there writing stories ahead of the event in order to cover everything.
And see, that's another thing. Yeah.
Everything. There's just so many that it becomes irrelevant by overload.
I mean, there were a couple interesting things. I'm pretty interested in these 4K TVs. Now we know this is the next standard that we're going to.
But why are you interested in this? This is something to me that's very new. It's interesting to the fact that it's there, but it's like, where HD TV was, 5 years ago when we were starting to get these awesome HD TVs. But now, the fact is, we don't even have channels that broadcast in 1080p yet.
Yeah. See, that's another thing. Exactly. Yeah.
What's the point of having a 4K TV that you're spending $12,000 on?
Yeah.
If the TV station you're watching is only broadcasting in 720p?
Yeah, and what kind of content are you going to play on that TV? I think
there is literally no 4K content as of right now.
Yeah,
None.
The 4K televisions are more of a showpiece to saying, okay, this is the next standard that we're going to see within the next 5 years. Here it is. But there's so much more that they could do. Like you said, the cable companies need to start streaming in 1080p, which I actually have a story, and I think that's going to come soon. OLED television displays. LG displayed a 55-inch OLED television that starts around $12,000.
Well, we've been talking about that stuff for at least 3 years now, too.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's slowly evolving and it's slowly coming into play.
That's my point is with CES is that this is stuff that, year after year, we hear about this stuff and we see these concept ideas, but then these concepts never make it to market, or if they do make it to market, like you said, it's $12,000.
$12,000 and very limited. You can't buy it
anywhere. There's no content for it.
Listen,
it's like 3D, when this whole 3D TV craze that we had. You remember when CES was all about 3D TV.
Yeah, last 2 years.
And all these TVs came out that had some sort of support for 3D TV, but really, at the time when they came out, there was no 3D TV content out there. It's the same exact thing. And even now that 3D TV is more prevalent, it's still kind of a novelty gimmick type of thing.
I don't know. To me, I was never appealed by the 3D TVs. I'm more appealed by the news that came out from Netflix that they're going to be doing Super HD, which I think is a stupid gimmick name. Super HD, which is going to be 1080p streaming on Netflix boxes.
It's not Super HD. It's just regular HD. There's 720p HD and 1080p HD.
Netflix announced that they're launching Super HD and 3D streaming, but only through certain ISPs. Not every ISP will be able to do this. According to Netflix, most of the international streams are already going to be compatible ISPs. However, only major participants announced in the US are Cablevision and Google Fiber. So, how is Verizon Fios not on this announcement? Baffles me that Cablevision's on it and Fios isn't.
Or Comcast. Or Time Warner.
But okay, fine. We're saying, okay, who has the most bandwidth in the country? Pretty much Fios does. I'm sure they're gonna slowly bring it out. But here's my issue with this. All right, and John, I don't know if you've had any experience with this stuff, but I recently purchased. I have a Roku box. I have an older Logitech Google TV, and I also purchased a new Vizio Google TV because my wife is a big fan of the fact that we don't have to switch inputs on the Google TV. It's just there. So it's all integrated and piggybacks off my cable box. The older Logitech box, which was dying, had much better Wi-Fi connectivity to my router than my newer Vizio box. And it's streaming 720p, and I see it drop down constantly to standard definition. It's more than what your bandwidth could handle. It's also what these little boxes are able to handle with their Wi-Fi chips in them.
Well, they put the cheapest radios in there that they can get.
Exactly, and I'm just curious on how they're going to do that. How are they going to stream? Yeah, fine, you can have all the bandwidth in the world, but if I'm and here's the thing, I have a router on the second floor. I'm literally 30 feet away from it at most, and it's not able to pick up the 720p video.
Well, I have basically the same problem. I just bought a wireless adapter, a new one for my HD PC. And my parents have a laptop that they bring over occasionally for me to work on. And I can sit in the kitchen. It works just fine. Never have any issues. Yet, the new wireless adapter that I bought for my HD PC, it doesn't work so well. It tends to operate at a much slower rate than it should.
Yeah.
It acts like it's a dead zone where it is.
It's funny.
I don't understand.
I mean, so you don't know until you use this device. So I think that's a big problem that people are going to encounter. If, yeah, you could have the 1080p, but it just dawned on me, the other day on how these boxes are using really crappy Wi-Fi chips in them, and the really crappy Wi-Fi radios, and it's not able to pick up.
Spend $100 just for the Wi-Fi, and you get this really crappy radio in it.
Yeah. So just something that came to mind when I was reading this article. But what do you think of that, John? Super HD 1080p streaming for Netflix. Can you see the cable companies kind of adapting this and going, that's the next step that they go to, 1080p video?
This, I think it's a little overrated. They're making this bigger than it really is. The fact that they're calling it Super HD as a marketing term for just 1080p, which is something that YouTube has done for at least 2 years now. So to me, it's not that big of a deal. And the fact that there's only 2 US ISPs that support this.
But can you see the cable companies adapting this, and over the next year or two that they're going to kind of go from 1080i HD and 720p HD to 1080p HD?
Oh, sure, why not?
I mean,
I think we're on that cusp of where larger distribution companies are willing to offer 1080p over 720p.
Yeah. Well, another story that came out of CES was that Roku, it was around, I believe it was at CES that we announced it, or it was announced on Monday. Roku struck a deal with Time Warner Cable, and now you're going to be able to access Time Warner Cable TV service through the Roku. And I think this is great. I think this is what they need, because these cable companies can't develop software. I mean, we've learned that over the last 25 years that they don't know how to do this.
Well, of course not. But see, that also begs the question is, we've seen these partnerships before between hardware manufacturers such as TiVo and cable companies where they'll agree to use TiVo, but then they'll muddle it up somehow. They'll screw it up somehow.
Time Warner Cable will stream up to 300 channels to subscribers through the service. The actual channel lineup depends on where the customer lives, as well as a subscription package. But I've been told by Roku, this is coming from, who's the source on this? I believe it's GigaOhm. I've been told by Roku that this isn't one of those get all the major broadcast channels minus the 2 that you actually want type deals, according to Roku. So I guess it's going to be IP-based and just going to stream it over your existing internet connection. I think that's a great idea.
See, I think that's a good idea, but they need to be taking this a step further by allowing you to not do that just in your home, but you need to be able to access that wherever you are, whether it's your tablet, your iPhone, your laptop. If you're not at home, you should be able to have this access to that as well, much like a Slingbox.
Yeah, I'll tell you, John. I have the Fios app on this on my iPad, and almost every other night, I'm watching the shows that I want to watch on this with my headphones, and Jess is watching whatever she wants on the TV. Yeah, and it's great. I mean, I love it.
To me, it's not that big of a leap to go from the IPTV services that they have now to being able to access that IPTV services on whatever device it is, wherever you are.
Yeah, see, the problem with that is, if, let's say, you know my password, you technically could watch free cable.
Well, people do that now with Wi-Fi access.
With the Wi-Fi access,
I've
absolutely.
Heard people ask people for their Comcast account or AT&T account to access AT&T or Comcast on Wi-Fi hotspots.
Didn't I do that this summer with you?
I don't remember.
I called you over the summer. I was at the beach, in Long Beach, in Long Island. There's a resort, and it's a beautiful area. It has a nice boardwalk. I mean, it's not there anymore because of the storm. But I called John up and I said, "Hey, listen, there's a Xfinity open network. It's an Optimum Online open network. Can I get your user account?" And he gave it to me, and I had access to the internet. I mean, it worked great. Yeah, so I don't know. Another story that came out. You're not 1080p, John. You're not. Are you upset by that?
A little bit, yeah.
It's all right. Another story that came out, and I actually thought this was probably one of the bigger stories. There were 2 big stories. There was the Intel announcement, and I thought this was actually cool too. USB 3.0 speeds are going to double in 2013.
See, this is my whole problem with CES is that It's such a hyped up event, and I don't like hype. And this is all to me a lot of hype. This is neat, but the fact is that once you start reading into the details, oh man, yeah, USB 3.0, 10 gigabytes per second. That's freaking awesome. Everything's gonna be so super fast now. Oh wait, you mean there's not gonna be any devices until 2014?
Yeah.
Oh, the heck with it.
Yeah, I mean, but you know what? It's cool announcements, and to me, I like computer hardware. So to me, like this actually means something. Like, okay, you know what? I see this helping me. How is it gonna help? Well, we do a lot of file transfers. It's gonna if I'm getting 10 gigabits a second.
Changes in a year.
It does change in a year. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, we talk about
That'd be great
webcams,
if
right?
You could get this right now. That'd be amazing.
But that's never gonna happen.
The fact that it's going to be over a year probably before we actually see any of these devices. That this is the whole problem with BlackBerry is that they've been talking up this whole BlackBerry 10 thing for like over a year now, and it's just at the point where people don't necessarily care because every time they say it's coming, they get delayed again. And this is the same thing. It's like by the time this stuff comes out, it's not going to have that wow factor anymore.
No, I think it will have a wow factor when there's products that go around with it. You know what we didn't get this year? Logitech announcements for webcams. We didn't get a Microsoft webcam announcement. Do you remember a couple years ago? They were like we still haven't seen a USB 3.0 webcam, and I'm really surprised by that. I honestly thought besides printers and hard drives, I thought we'd get webcams.
There for it.
You don't think we need it?
I just don't. I mean, if you look at it, the fact that wireless 802.11 AC kind of has been out there for quite a while now, and we're just now starting to see devices with 802.11 AC.
Yeah, I don't actually. I just got a new N router, and I think N is awful.
Yeah,
I actually disable it, and I
actually
use G.
kind of. It's kind of disappointing when you actually figure out the technology of how they actually do this by combining channels, and it's just
with N, and I may be mistaken. The speed is a lot more, but the distance is shorter.
Yeah.
So you get a lot more speed, but you can't go as far away as you could with G. Am I right with that?
I think part of it also depends on what frequency you're operating on.
Okay. Well. To kind of go down the CES news, and we have a lot of news, so I'm ripping right through these, and we're not spending a lot of time on them. What do you think of this?
They're boring anyway.
Yeah, well, I know you're a little curmudgeon and you hate this stuff, but I actually like it. I get excited for this stuff. Amazon Auto Rip Deal gives you a free MP3 version of any CD that you may have purchased from 1998. Now this is
kind of cool.
It is cool, but you know what? I was thinking. I read this story. I'm like, wow, that's really cool. I probably bought a bunch of CDs over the last, 12, 13 years on Amazon. What email address did I use? Okay. Was it my account? Was it my parents' account? Was it my brother's account?
One of the cool things about this is that this is actually retroactive, and the fact that anything that you bought on Amazon as a CD in the last 15 years, you now have access on your cloud drive from Amazon.
I think that's really cool. But I can't. I'm one of those people that has switched my email addresses so many times over the last, X amount of years where I don't remember what my email address was in 1998. And to be honest, most people weren't ordering CDs on the internet in 1998, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002.
Are you kidding me? I was.
Were you? On Amazon?
Oh, yeah.
On Amazon?
Yeah.
Really?
I was ordering stuff.
So have you gotten access to those MP3s?
I couldn't even tell you what I've bought. It's so long ago.
No, but it should be in there. Have you looked yet?
No, I haven't looked.
I'm curious on what you have there.
Anything I've already got digitally. So.
I'm sure, yeah. But I think it is a pretty cool thing. One thing that someone told me, I was talking about this with a friend of mine, and he said, you know what's interesting? How about all those CDs that you may have bought someone for Christmas? Technically, those are in your cloud account.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so all those songs that you probably bought as a gift are probably sitting there.
Yeah, and see, a lot of times when I'm buying a CD, I want like the physical copy of the CD that has the CD booklet and everything in that, but I also want it in digital form.
Yeah, see, this is
great because now you don't have to actually wait for the copy of the CD to rip it to your computer. it's already going to be there before you even get the CD.
And you know what? It's weird because I'm somewhat of a hoarder with this stuff, but I've kind of cleansed myself of any kind of like physical media over the last couple of years. I kind of wouldn't mind if I'm spending, let's say, $12 to buy an album. And I still buy albums. I go to iTunes and I buy albums all the time. If I'm buying an album, you know what? It's actually a cool plus to get that CD in the mail a couple days later. To have it there. Have the physical CD. I think DVDs...
It's a little bit more exciting, I think, to actually have something physical than just getting an MP3.
And I'll tell you something. I'll be more inclined to purchase my DVDs like that.
You actually spent money on something a little bit more worthwhile than something that's just completely digital.
Yeah. Well, that's the same argument as why people feel that they could pirate this stuff is because there's no physical media in front of them. There's nothing that they're holding in their hand. It's just it's just numbers and letters they're looking at. Mm-hmm. But this is actually really cool, and I think this is Amazon's way of testing how well this will work. Are people going to be actually purchasing the physical media? And if that's the case, in a year or two, they might say, okay, you know what? If you buy any kind of Blu-ray, you buy a DVD from us, we'll send you the physical DVD, but you also get a file version, a digital version in your Amazon locker.
And this is something that iTunes can't exactly compete with.
No, they can't.
They don't actually have any physical goods. Yeah. It's all digital.
And let me ask you, what would you purchase? Would you use iTunes or would you use Amazon if that's the case, if you're actually getting the physical media along with your digital purchase?
It depends. It really depends on whether or not I want an actual CD for this or not. I mean, there's certain CDs and artists out there that I would rather have a physical CD along with the digital media. But then you also have to ask yourself, is it just easier just to get everything through iTunes because you already have so much invested in your iOS environment?
Well, you know what else this is, right? The record sales have been awful. And this way, the record companies, when you're buying, let's say you're buying a CD, you're also purchasing technically the digital file, so they might add it as twice. So if someone's going platinum, and let's say 1 million copies of that album sold on Amazon, and people did this cloud thing, like hypothetically, it's actually 2 million physical copies were sold.
Yeah, I mean, like my favorite artists that I really am into, like Anohea or Five Iron Frenzy. I know not a lot of people know them, but they're like big favorite artists of mine. I would love to also have their CD plus the digital content for it.
And I may be mistaken, but those are deathcore metal bands, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're big into thrashing. That's what I heard. But I think this was actually a really cool thing that came out, and it was almost like this hidden gem of a story that was kind of buried in with all the CES announcements. To kind of go into something that's non-CES, Microsoft confirms shutting Messenger. It's over for them. I believe the last day is March 15th. No, we didn't do this.
Don't we already talk about Microsoft wanting to kill off MSN Messenger like a year ago?
Yes, but now we have a date.
Oh,
and it's March 15th. They're saying there's more than 100.
I haven't used it for 3 years anyway.
I've never used Live Messenger, but they're saying there's over 100 million Messenger users, and all of them are going to be coming over to Skype, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for Skype users. 100 million potential Messenger users will be migrating over to Skype for the service.
I think those are largely international users.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, MSN Messenger was never that big of a deal here in the United States. It was much more accepted across the pond in like London and England and everywhere else around there.
What did you use? You use AIM?
Yeah, I used AIM. I used Yahoo.
I never used Yahoo. I always used AIM, and I used ICQ for a while.
Yeah, I used MSN for a while, but AIM and Yahoo were just always there. They were just so much better, and everybody was on there.
So they're moving over to Skype, and I believe there's a new version of Skype. AIM. You still use it?
That's the funny thing is I still use AIM.
Oh, no, me too. Me too. I talk to a lot of people on AIM.
But how many people do you actually know that actually used MSN Messenger?
I don't know anybody. What I also feel that with these messaging services, it's also generational and it's also localized. So growing up, I'm part of that AOL generation, right? Everybody had AOL. And I think a lot of people used AIM based on that. But I know people from, let's say, 20 miles away, and nobody used AIM and everybody used Messenger, or they use Yahoo. It's whatever, you know, your little community was using. I still use AIM, and a lot of my friends are still on AIM. Even though we have Facebook messaging, I still message them on AIM all the time.
Yeah.
So it's just something that I'm used to doing, and I have it running there. But I think this is pretty cool. There was also a new version of Skype released for Windows 6.1 that has integration with Messenger. I think they did something with Messenger.
Outlook, I thought.
Oh, yeah, Outlook integration. There you go. John, I've done a bunch of these stories. Why don't you pick a story?
I really want to go back to CES and just get your thoughts on this 20-inch Lenovo tablet that's 4K compatible.
Yeah, okay, so...
This is really interesting.
No, it's Panasonic. Panasonic.
Yeah, Panasonic, excuse me. I'm trying to find the story here on my notes. Panasonic reveals 20-inch 4K resolution Windows 8 tablet. This is kind of cool that it is a 20-inch Windows 8 tablet, but at the same time, Windows tablet, a tablet, by definition, to me, is something that's not 20 inches.
Well, there was also a 27-inch, I believe, ViewSonic tablet that was unveiled with Windows 8, too. I mean, we're going to see these products. I think they're just showpieces. And that's
totally
all they're intended to be. They'll never come to market. And it seemed like this year, more than other years, it was flooded with these show pieces, like a Panasonic 20-inch 4K television that I don't really have any interest for.
Yeah.
Did you see all the BlackBerry news that came out this week?
You know, here's the thing, is that there's been a lot of leaked information, some screenshots, some videos and whatnot. More information about the BlackBerry Z10, which is supposedly the name of the first touchscreen smartphone that's coming out for BlackBerry 10. You know, it's got potential, I think. It really does. But at the same time, knowing that their announcement is literally 2 weeks away, I almost necessarily couldn't care less about any of these leaks, because this is all stuff that we're going to find out officially in 2 weeks and talk about again in 2 weeks when they officially announce it.
By the way, there's some late breaking news that I want to go into here. Do you remember a couple months ago we spoke about the 6 strikes policy that Time Warner Cable wanted to put in place?
Yeah.
Well, Verizon is also going to be putting it in place, and we have information about that. This came out. Torrent Freaks just posted this about 20 minutes ago. And they're saying that what they're going to do is it's going to be 6 strikes are actually divided into 3 tiers, giving users increasingly serious warnings before their bandwidth is reduced to 256K. The first is a straightforward email and voicemail informing users the copyright owners have filed a complaint against them. But the second tier goes a bit further, automatically redirecting the user to a website. Well, they'll have to acknowledge that they've been receiving these alerts and then prompted to watch an anti-piracy video. If you get to the 5th and 6th alert, you'll again be redirected to a page where you must agree to either an immediate reduction in speed for 2 or 3 days, or a reduction. Hold on, let me see. Immediate reduction in speed for 2 to 3 days, or same 2 to 3 day speed reduction delayed until 14 days later. At that point, you'll also be able to request a review of your situation, for which you'll be charged $35.
That's ridiculous.
So, but what are they? How are they determining that you're downloading pirated software?
Exactly.
No, I'm really curious about that. How are they determining you're downloading pirated software? Are they talking about
from that article? It sounds like all it is whether or not a copyright holder is filing a complaint against you
personally
with Verizon.
But how do they file?
I don't understand how they're going to determine that. Are they going to be able to, somehow find out my IP and then just alleged based on whatever that IP address happens to come back to, what address?
Yeah, but I mean,
which
again,
has been in a way kind of proven that it's just not necessarily reliable. Not everybody has a static IP address. So the fact that you're basing somebody's address off an IP that possibly changes,
well, I guess the
doesn't make any
ISP.
sense.
No, but the ISP kind of knows who had what IP at certain times. They're able to tell who it belonged to. But I mean, again, are they only monitoring BitTorrent? I mean, is that how they're gonna?
See, that's what I'm saying. Is there just not enough information here as far as how they're determining this? and what exactly they're going to be doing to actually help people that are wrongly accused. Because this is something that firsthand about from YouTube with copyright complaints on YouTube, and just how ridiculous it was with just false positive from their content ID system, and the fact that if somebody filed a complaint against you on YouTube, you're basically powerless to do anything about. So now they're saying that, all right, well, after you reach the 6 strikes policies, you can pay $35 and we'll actually physically review this. Are you kidding me? That's absolutely ridiculous for some copyright owner, which we've known that these people are very notorious for just generally accusing people for absolutely hardly any proof at all that they've done something wrong when they really haven't. And the fact that even if you have, there's really no way for you to actually dispute something here. And they're saying that if you want to dispute it, you have to wait until you reach the 6 strikes, and then you have to pay $35
to dispute it. Yeah. And then what happens after that? What happens after the 6 strikes? You're done?
That's ridiculous. This is a horrible system.
And wait a minute, can't you actually protect your IP by using something like Pure Guardian?
Sure.
Or some sort of masking of your IP? I mean, technically, you could kind of hide behind VPNs and do weird stuff like that, but what are they monitoring to tell what you're downloading? I mean, are we talking BitTorrent exclusively? Because if that's the case, okay, fine. You know what? They're monitoring BitTorrent. Everybody knows they're monitoring BitTorrent, and we go to something else.
Yeah.
But I don't know how they're going to determine that there's a... I don't know. You want me to get into some conspiracy theories? Like, what if there's a website set up that's all movies that the RIAA sets up just to nab people?
What if it's all bandwidth based and they say, oh, you're using a lot of bandwidth, you must be pirating?
Yeah.
Well, me and you transfer massive amounts of bandwidth because of GFQ. So now I'm a pirate just because I move massive amounts of bandwidth.
Do you know what my bandwidth consumption is for my block, for my my neighborhood? For me?
For just you or for your neighborhood?
No. For me, my bandwidth consumption for the neighborhood. My bandwidth consumption.
How much?
I consume about 75% of the bandwidth that's sent out.
That does not surprise me.
I mean, and that's what they told me over the summer. They're like, listen, technically, you're not doing anything wrong. We don't throttle, but you're consuming a lot of data. A lot of data is coming in and out from you. I'm like, well, it's files. I have, what do they call that new service? Quantum?
I don't know.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting to bring up, and it's late breaking news.
It's just very,
I'm surprised that this went through.
What they're doing is very scary from not only a privacy standpoint, but the fact that there's not really any safeguards in there for people who are legitimately accused incorrectly of pirating.
I mean, this argument could go every way. You know, what if you already own it and you downloaded a digital copy? What if you? I mean, technically, yeah, you're still downloading it. You're not supposed to do that, but I mean, you still own the product. You know, like there's so many ways around this. I don't know.
It's just scary to think that, you know, it's almost like they treat, if somebody files a complaint, that means you're a criminal.
Well, no, they're not. There's no criminal charges.
That's kind of the way I'm taking this. I really don't like the way that they're wording this and the way that they have this policy set up. It's a really awful policy because it's the same exact deal as the YouTube content ID system's false positive or way of, you know, if somebody filed a complaint against you, you have basically no power to say otherwise that, oh no, they're being wrong. The people that are making these claims are abusing their power of complaint.
I'm curious to know more about this.
What do you do about that? What about those people that are these copyright holders that abuse their power of copyright?
Well, you know how many times we've been flagged for just putting an image up, and we fall under fair use. And we've been, you know, falsely accused of copyright infringement on YouTube. And you know what? I appeal them, and YouTube is really good, and they reverse the appeal, but it takes a while for them to do it.
Right. But see, that's not necessarily as bad of a system as what Verizon is saying, where until you reach those 6 strikes, then you have to pay $35, and then we'll look at an appeal.
Yeah.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
So no BitTorrenting for people on Verizon Files, I guess. Sorry, John. You go into another one. Sorry, I had to interrupt with that, but I thought it was pretty big.
Well, there was actually a couple of CES is notorious for like really awful products out there, and I think there's two in particular that I'd like to bring up. One of them is the Spike Type Smart Keyboard that makes an iPhone wish it was a Blackberry. All it does, I don't know if you can bring up the image from the post about this.
Yeah.
Because you almost have to see this to see just how ridiculous this is. All it is this physical keyboard that you attach to the lower half of your iPhone screen. So what it does is that, yeah, you get that physical keyboard, but it actually ends up blocking half of your iPhone screen. So while you have this, you're going to have this section of the screen covered up by a keyboard. So anything in that part of the screen, you're not going to be able to see.
And there it is.
And it not only that, but it just looks absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Now to kind of go back to what we were saying, we were also talking about the BlackBerry devices that are going to be coming out over the next, I guess in 20 days, right?
Yeah, end of the month is when they're making an announcement. I think it was the 23rd.
Are you? I'm actually. It's weird for me to say because I've never been a BlackBerry owner. I'm kind of excited for this stuff. I'm
interested that it's finally coming out, and it looks like it actually has potential. It doesn't look like it's going to. I think BlackBerry 10 is one of those products that right off the gate, it doesn't look bad.
No, it doesn't at all.
I think there's a lot of people that want BlackBerry 10 to be out of the gate really, really, really bad. They want them to fail. And I just don't necessarily see that right off the bat from everything that I've seen.
I'm trying to find the images. Engadget had some. Actually, here it is. Here's a image of it, actually. From as soon as I pulled up, I found it. There it is. I mean, it's a cool-looking device. It doesn't look bad. I know this is still the beta. I mean, this was still the beta concept of it. It's not the final. But there's a couple images that have been released over the last couple days of this.
Yeah, there's newer versions of that.
Here it is.
Concept images.
Here it is. This is a cool looking device.
Yeah,
really nice looking. Here it is. Look at this thing.
It looks really slick. It looks professional.
I mean, if they could grab that enterprise market again with something like this, they're not in bad shape. I think they still have a leg to stand on.
Yeah.
There was also news that came out of CES, and I don't know what to make of this. Ubuntu is getting into the phone market with an Ubuntu phone. And they have their own operating system, and they displayed it. They showed it off. Did you see the video, John, of them playing around with it?
Quite honestly, I wasn't interested.
I don't know.
This is much in the same way of when they announced Firefox OS and Chrome OS, and it's just, here we have Apple's iOS, we have Android. Those are the top two. You have Windows Phone that's barely making it right now. BlackBerry is coming out with BlackBerry 10.
Yeah.
That could grab some of the market. And now you're wanting to do Ubuntu OS, which is based pretty much on Android. So I don't necessarily see the point of it.
And I think what people now, how are they going to market this? Is this going to be like I could pretty much take my Android phone, the phone that they displayed it on was this. It was a Galaxy Nexus. Can you take a Galaxy Nexus and say, okay, you know what? I don't want Android on this anymore. I want Ubuntu on this. Is that
I'm sure somebody will figure some way out to do it. But the fact is that even now, Ubuntu really is not that big of a major player for desktop operating systems. It just isn't.
I think it's cool. I just don't have a use for it.
It's probably the most popular Linux distribution out there, but
it's the prettiest one.
Compared to Mac OS X, it's still crap.
I mean, it's technically the prettiest one.
Yeah.
But I just don't have it. It doesn't appeal to me because I have no need for it. I think some people like it, and I think that's cool if you use Linux.
I don't think Ubuntu OS makes enough changes or does things in a different way to make it worthwhile.
So what do you think? What do you think the market's going to be like next year at this time? Do you think we're going to have an Ubuntu operating system phone on the market? Where do you think?
They might try to, and it'll probably just fail miserably because I just don't see a market for something like that. I don't see a market for Firefox OS. I don't see a market for Ubuntu OS. I mean, if Windows Phone is barely making it, how are these smaller players with practically no interest out there going to survive?
Yeah.
I mean, really, if Windows Phone is just barely making it now, why would anybody be interested in Ubuntu OS? It just isn't revolutionary enough.
Yeah,
it doesn't do things differently. It's basically taking an Android phone and putting a skin on it. That's really all it is.
I'm trying to find this a video of it. It's not good quality videos. I'm more excited about the BlackBerry stuff, to be honest.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're cool. From what I've seen, they look really nice. Just
Did
who knows?
Did you see that one thing at CES that was just like basically the crappiest thing at CES, and it was basically a kid's potty training toilet with an iPad stand on it. I think it was called the iPotty.
When I saw it, I felt really sad, and I'll tell you why. I felt sad because somebody thought of this, and somebody thought this is a unbelievable idea. Like somebody actually, and I came up with this scenario in my head. I actually was talking about this to my wife the other day. I was going through some of the CS stuff, and I showed it to her, and she goes, that's really sad. And I said, why? She goes, well, think about it. Some guy, let's say he lives in San Francisco, has a family. This is my theory on this, so I could be totally wrong. He's trying to provide for his family, and he came up with this idea, and he thinks it's the greatest idea in the world. He's potty training his kid. He goes, what would be really great if we attach an iPad screen to this thing? Because that's going to be perfect. Everybody's going to want this.
Yeah.
I mean, but we got that at CES. I mean, there's a whole crapware section where there's hundreds of these weird companies putting out something that everybody thinks it's going to be huge, and they're awful ideas. Awful.
Yeah, there was one with Bluetooth headphones that actually have a heart rate monitor built into it. I'm like, who the hell needs that?
Are they trying to compete? Are they trying to compete with like the Jawbone and all those things?
Buy that. It's these niche products that will never ever take off, and this is why I don't like CES, because it's full of stuff like that.
Yeah. Anything else you saw that stood out like that, like awful stuff at CES?
That was pretty much. I mean, it was weird that the I think it's Huawei. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it. They were basically the only booth out there, or vendor out there, that had professional security guards walking and stalking people in their booth, because they say that they had to protect their proprietary technology.
Really?
Yeah. They didn't want anybody to steal their proprietary technology, so they had to have security guards there in uniform.
There was actually one thing that I noticed that I thought was an awful idea, was this TV, and it's on this the stand, and you can't disconnect it from this thing. It's honestly like this. It's a 4K TV, $12,000, and it sits like this, like on this like blackboard type thing, and it was awful. It was so bad.
Huh.
But you can't even take it and mount it. I mean, you're spending $12,000, you can't even mount it. So I don't know. So what's the story you want to go into? You want to go into Target, right?
Yeah, my browser just crashed, so if you can go into it for me.
Yeah, no problem. So Target announced, and I think it's the same story that we're talking about, that they're going to be doing price matching with Amazon.
Yeah, not only Amazon, but it's going to be Walmart, I think Best Buy, what is it? I think also Toys R Us. They're also going to be price matched. It's a really interesting story that they're actually doing something like this, because we've all heard of price matching, but the fact is there's this whole epidemic of people that just go to these brick and mortar stores to look at the actual product that they want to get, and then they'll just go online to like Amazon to actually purchase the item at a much lower price. So what Target is now doing is they're going to price match these online retailers such as Amazon, so that within 7 days of you purchasing something, if there's a lower price, either in their circular or one of the approved retailers, they will price match that for you.
I think I mean, Walmart does it too, right?
No, they don't.
They don't.
I don't
thought
think
they
so.
did. Best Buy used to talk about a price match, but I don't know if they do Amazon. I think they just do circulars.
But I guess the hope is that they're going to stop people from going to the store, looking at a product, and just buying it online. Which I think is a great idea because, I mean, I know I've done that a million times where, that's great. You can look for something online. It's got great prices online. But sometimes you just actually need to see the product in person before you buy it.
Yeah. And I think when you're talking about TVs and things like that, that's where it comes into play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is pretty good, and I think this is going to give these brick and mortar stores a lifeline if they all follow this and they all start doing these price matching with Amazon. That they'll,
I think it's a great idea, and I don't think it will necessarily completely stop showrooming, but I think it'll actually benefit people.
So what do? You go and you pull up Amazon.com on your on your phone, and you show
how
it
it's
to them.
Going to work, but they basically said that if you buy it from them and the price drops, they'll price match with after 7 days after you purchase something. So if you buy something today and next week you see it on Amazon for a lower price, you can go back to Target and say, "Hey, Amazon has this at a lower price. I bought this a week ago. Will you price match it?"
So, but let me talk to you about this because you've been really looking at pricing and things like that over the last couple of weeks. You're building a new computer, an editing box, and you've been really following the Amazon pricing and the Micro Center pricing. And
it's so frustrating.
And you're really frustrated because the prices change every day.
Multiple times a day.
Really?
It will change multiple times a day.
Why do you think it changes that often on Amazon?
It's just one of those things where everybody online is trying to compete with everybody else. And so, somebody will, like BestBuy.com will lower its price. Well, then Amazon has to lower its price. But then Amazon says, well, Newegg has it higher, so we're going to raise our price to match Newegg. And then Best Buy will change theirs back to the same price as Amazon and Newegg.
And you've seen the pricing change, I mean, multiple times for the same product on the same thing every day. Oh,
yeah. Some of the stuff I'll add, and it'll be $140. Or here's what really pisses me off is that I'm going to get a hard drive for $89.99. Guess how much it went up to 2 days later?
How much?
Over $100.
Yeah.
It was going to cost me $106. It was going to be $20, over $20 more. And it was just crazy. There's a lot of products where I'll add it to my wish list, and then a couple of days later, it's $20 more. So, I'm trying to work with the budget here. And these prices keep changing constantly, and it's really difficult.
Yeah, you know what I'm a fan of? I'm a fan of the website Deal News, and I use them all the time. If I'm looking for a price on something, I actually pull up the item on their website, and they tell me, all the competitive pricing for that one product.
You know what I did?
What?
There is a Firefox extension. It's called Invisible Hand. If you go to invisiblehand.com, you can install it, and it'll actually search other websites for lower prices, and it'll tell you if it finds a lower price.
Really?
And it'll actually it'll list all the information. It's really cool.
Is there anything that was really cheap and now it's I think the video card, right? The video card went up a lot.
It did, but it fluctuates. The things that have really gone up are the hard drive, the power supply, the monitor that I was going to get. I added it to my wish list when it was $140, and now it's $160. I'm like, dang, now if I had known that, I would have freaking bought it.
Yeah.
Now it's well, $20 is once you add all this stuff up, and that's $20 more, that's $20 more, and that's $20 more. Well, now I'm $60 over my budget. And I'm even trying to find all the best deals, and it's just frustrating.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, listen, that's why whenever I'm looking to purchase something like this, I just do it and I never look at the price again because I don't want to get annoyed by it.
That's kind of the point that I've had to do now is
just buy it and forget it.
Just buy it because, by the time you wait for one product to have the price drop back down to, $89.99, well, then when the other products that you're looking to get is going to go up another $20.
Doesn't Amazon do price matching, price drop matching too?
No,
the price drop?
No, they've stopped doing that.
I thought they did it at one point.
They used to. Yeah, they used to. Like, if you purchase something and, like 2 weeks after you buy it, they had a lower price, they would refund the difference. They don't do that anymore.
Yeah. Facebook invites the media to come and see what they're building next week. What do you think they're building, John?
A pyramid.
You think so?
Yes.
They're building a pyramid. What are they going to put inside it?
Pyramid. It's going to have a nice bronze statue of him on there, and I don't know. It's just kind of ridiculous. They, as an invitation with absolutely no detail.
Nothing. Nobody knows what they're talking about.
Nobody.
I've been trying to find
any clue what it is that Facebook is going to talk about on the 15th.
I've been trying to find some ideas of what, because
there's
it's very limited.
Even speculating what's going to be happening.
Some speculation
That's
that I got.
Funny thing.
Some speculation that I got is like an actual marketplace where they're going to start competing with Amazon
or a phone.
But I don't think they're going to do a phone.
Always been rumored, but
I don't. Nothing.
See, there's a lot of times that Facebook has these events that they invite people to, and then it's just really stupid announcements that, quite frankly, are unimportant.
Yeah, nobody cares about them.
Yeah, so to me, it's like, and I know I sound like a Grinch in this entire freaking episode, but I don't know. I guess I'm just sour.
You're in a bad mood. You're just in a bad mood. Do you have a pick of the week, John? Because I don't.
I thought we were going to skip it this week.
If you want, we could do one for you.
Nah.
You want to skip it this week?
Yeah.
All right.
There's no point unless we're both doing it.
So instead of doing a pick of the week, why don't we talk about what you've been doing with the build and what you're planning on doing with the components that you're going to be buying?
Sure.
I want to know more about what you're buying and what kind of hardware you're putting in there.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring up my wish list. I'll even send you a link to it if you want.
Yeah. Put it up. So I've been wanting to talk about this for a couple of weeks, but we've been off the air, and we really haven't had a chance to talk about what John has been building.
Yeah, basically, the computer that I have now for editing all our videos is kind of old, and now that we're doing like HD stuff, and I'm doing a lot of shows and editing, it's kind of time consuming. I need something that's going to be faster, and I kind of want to move over to Mac, but really to get something powerful with Apple, it's going to cost an insane amount of money. I figure, you know what? I'll just build a Hackintosh. I can get something that's going to be more powerful than what I can buy from Apple for less money.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to do. And I've been researching parts and everything for I've actually been looking at this since August, believe it or not. And I'm now to the point where, I just got to do it because it's just so long to edit stuff now. And there's so much stuff to edit that I just need something.
And you're gonna be doing it in Final Cut also.
I'm planning to, yes.
Yeah.
Or at least that's the plan. I don't know if that's always going to work out, but that's the tentative plan.
So you got a Gigabit Z77 motherboard.
Yeah, and a lot of this stuff too is I've used the 20 Mac x86 guides out there to kind of base my stuff off of and just kind of pick parts and throw them all together. I'm not necessarily going from like exact builds from them, but Tony Mac has some great guides. If you're building a Hackintosh and you want to figure out, well, what are going to be compatible parts that I can get, it's a great place to actually see, high-end stuff, low-end stuff, accessories, all that kind of stuff that's going to be compatible with like Mountain Lion, so that you're not going to have to worry about something that's not going to work. So that's basically what I've done. What
have you purchased so far? What haven't you purchased, I should say?
I haven't purchased the CPU, which is going to be the Intel i7 3770K, which I'm going to overclock to, I think, at least 4.2 and maybe hopefully to 4.6 gigahertz.
I think that's way too much. You're gonna
no,
crazy.
No way.
Yeah,
no way. I need every little bit that I can get.
You're gonna make it.
See, you're the one that's not doing this. You don't know everything that goes on in editing a video.
No, I don't. Nor do I want to. Nor do I want to know.
You don't know how long all this stuff takes.
Maybe we could do like a live build or like a live thing, a demo when you get everything going.
Sure.
I think that might be cool. And your water, it's water cooled too, right?
It's liquid cool. I mean, there's a big debate of whether or not these closed loop systems from like Corsair, which is what I'm going to get, is the Corsair H80i, which is the newer one. It's a closed looped liquid cooling system. Some people debate whether or not that's really water cooling. Other people disagree.
People say that it doesn't help.
Well, there's also that debate whether or not it's really any better for versus some of the higher performing air cooling systems.
Yeah.
Like if you go with some of the new Noctua, I think it is, or some of the Cooler Masters that are out there, some people argue whether or not why go with a liquid cooling thing that could have a leak when you can just get the same performance from a high performing air system.
Well, the fan. Well, if noise is a problem, you kind of want the fan to spin at a less RPM.
People say that you get noise from the pump itself.
No, there's no noise from the pump on this thing at all.
I wouldn't know since I've never used one of these things before. But I mean, that is kind of my goal. Is that this is something that's going to be in my studio. So if I'm on the air and I'm encoding, I need to be quiet and it's not going to disturb me.
I'm looking. The highest priced fan, CPU fan, is a Cooler Master, $100 hybrid something.
I can tell you exactly some of the other parts that I've been looking at.
What are they?
Let me load up my other. I have two wish lists here. Great, now it crashed again. That's nice.
Sorry.
Cooler Master Hyper 212 Plus.
Okay.
And the Noctua, what is it? NHC 14. And there was another one I was looking at too, the Noctua NHD 14.
Yeah, the fans that I mean,
and those are huge. And this is the other consideration when you're actually looking at whether you need to go with the. I mean, you can go with these gigantic air coolers, but the problem that I think I'm going to have is that they're so big, it's going to run into the RAM that I'm putting in there, because a lot of times these high performance RAM will have heat shields on them.
Yeah.
But because these coolers are so big, you're probably talking that they're probably this big, and it's going to basically interfere with the heat shields on the RAM, which is another reason why I think I'm going with the Corsair H80 cooler.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this turns out. I really am. I think it'll be really cool. All right, John, that wraps it up. Any show plugs?
No.
No
plugs.
No plugs. All right, guys. Go to our website, gfqnetwork.com. If you miss any portion of the show, you could watch it on our website and subscribe to us, guys. It's a big help when you do. Subscribe to us on iTunes, on Windows Phone, on pretty much any podcast platform out there. We are available on it. You can follow me on Twitter at Andrew Zarian, and of course, John is at Suncast on Twitter. Until next time, guys. We'll see you next week on Tech News Week.